Hey you guys, before I got into the video, I just wanted to talk briefly about my new ebook, Zodiac Signs Sex Language. Whether you're looking to improve your sex life and your dating life, or if you're just looking to expand your knowledge about astrology, this is definitely the right book for you. This book is meant to help you improve your sex life, your dating life, and your love life, your relationships, and to spice it up in the bedroom if need be, or to just once again help you learn more about astrology. So if you're interested in any of these things, if you're interested in learning about the different love languages and the different sex languages of the zodiac signs, definitely look into getting this book, Zodiac Signs Sex Language, written by me, edited by me, and designed by me, Lamarr Townsend. So you can purchase this ebook on my website, lamarrtownsendtarot.com, or you can purchase it on Amazon, on the Amazon Kindle ebook store, all right? Or just amazon.com. All right, into the video we go. Thank you for listening and watching. What the zodiac signs should do during Mercury retrograde. So if you don't know, Mercury goes retrograde, about 3 or 4 times a year. And when Mercury goes retrograde, typically technology goes haywire, communication goes haywire. There may be a lot of miscommunication, misunderstandings, your automobiles may start to act up. A lot of things happen, during Mercury retrograde that causes us to review, look back, and rethink, certain plans. So they say, Mercury retrograde is not a good time to sign contracts, to start new things, because, typically a certain set of circumstances may be happening during Mercury retrograde, but when Mercury goes direct, those circumstances could change, so you always want to do, start new things, sign contracts before Mercury retrograde actually starts. I would say during the shadow period, you may even be, okay. But once Mercury actually goes retrograde, you don't want to start anything new. You don't want to sign contracts. You definitely want to make sure you have, everything lined up with your car prior to Mercury retrograde. Your technology, back up all your data, stuff like that, because, stuff like that can happen. Now, also, when it comes to communication, you want to make sure that your communication is clear and succinct, that, what you're saying, what information you're conveying to other people, is coming across as, understood, easily understood. If you don't understand something, ask questions, because you really want to make sure that clear communication is being brought across when Mercury goes, retrograde. Now, let's talk about each of the 12 zodiac signs and what they should be doing and what they should be focusing on once Mercury actually goes retrograde. Now, I want to mention also that there is a shadow period both before Mercury retrograde and after. So typically, a few weeks before, Mercury goes retrograde, there's a shadow period where we kind of start feeling the effects. And then a few weeks after where we feel the residual effects of the Mercury retrograde once Mercury actually goes direct. All right, so I'm going to go by element, so let's start with the water sign. So Cancer is ruled by the moon, so the moon rules, our family, our connection to our home, our sense of emotional security. So when it comes to these types of things, you want to reflect and review on your emotions, on your home. Is everything good in your home? Is everything structured and ordered in your home? If there's anything out of place, how can you fix it? Now's the time to really review and reflect on those things. Things that may be holding you back in the home, family members that may be holding you back. Now's a good time to reflect and review on those types of things, also, when it comes to Mercury retrograde for Cancers, they may want to spend a lot of time in the home, so, inviting people over, people that you trust and that you love, of course, to your home can be really therapeutic for you. Mercury retrograde, because Mercury rules communication, intellect, and the mind, it can actually be a quite creative time for you. So, doing DIY at home projects can be really therapeutic and allow you to get kind of the residual anxious kind of energy off of you that Mercury tends to bring. All right, so Let's move on to Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Mars. So Mars rules, how we go after what we want, how we assert ourselves, and Pluto rules what lies beneath the surface, and, the subconscious. So when it comes to Mercury retrograde for Scorpios, Scorpios really want to spend time reflecting and reviewing on their relationships, over the energy that their relationships bring them, and their overall life. The workload that they have, anything that tends to bring a Scorpio stress needs to be reflected and reviewed, and either needs to, be looked at in terms of how it can be worked out, or how it can be, phased out, meaning, prioritizing is really, really important with Scorpios when Mercury goes retrograde. And I'm not just talking workload, I'm talking all around prioritizing their relationships, prioritizing their friendships, prioritizing things so that they can decrease the stress levels, because when Mercury goes retrograde, Scorpio stress levels can tend to go up because there can be misunderstandings and miscommunications, delays, which, can be very frustrating, because, Mars wants things when Mars wants things, right? But, patience is really a virtue. Being patient with other people, because you're going to be frustrated with other people, and just being really clear and succinct in your communication. Always bringing your attention across. Very straightforward with your intentions, because Pluto rules intentions, but also being straightforward with other people and their intentions. So. Mercury retrograde for Scorpio can bring a lot of people beating around the bush with Scorpio, and that can frustrate them too. So let's move to Pisces. Pisces, for Mercury retrograde, reflection all around is really important, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which rules solitude, soul growth, things like that, our hidden strengths and weaknesses. So naturally Pisces are very reflective people during Mercury retrograde, even more so. Now, though Mercury retrograde is a bit frustrating, because not the best time for expansion, and Pisces is also ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter rules expansion, knowledge, higher knowledge. It also rules personal philosophies, and our personal philosophies and our beliefs, and seeking adventure and exploration. So when it comes to these types of things, it can be very frustrating for Pisces, because bringing people together can be, frustrating, because, Mercury retrograde brings a lot of miscommunication and misunderstandings and confusion. It can bring delays, which can be, frustrating for Pisces. So, Mercury retrograde is really good for Pisces to do energy work, so if you're spiritual, lighting candles is really good. And just really centering your own energy, centering your own spiritual energy, is really, really important for a Pisces. And reflecting over, what may be blocking you at this time, what may have been blocking you in the past. So like I was saying, Mercury retrograde is a really good time for reflection for you guys. So, I would say for Pisces, redecorating, tidying up your room so you have a clear space to really think, to ruminate. Making your home, your room, whatever, your kind of oasis, your spiritual oasis during the Mercury retrograde, so you can get recentered and reacclimated within yourself, both spiritually and physically. Very, very important for you to be present during Mercury retrograde, Pisces, okay? Now, let's move on to the air signs. Now, let's start with Gemini, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and what that means, when Mercury goes retrograde, that's your planet. That's all day, Gemini. Now, Gemini, you're an air sign, so when it comes to Mercury energy, you utilize that energy in a more logical way, as opposed to Virgo, which we'll get into here in a second, which is also ruled by Mercury, that utilizes that Mercury energy in a more practical, kind of earthly bound way. So when it comes to you, Gemini, you really, really, really want to make sure during Mercury retrograde that, the information that you're bringing across to other people, the communication that you are having, the dialogue that you're having with other people, you want to make sure that, what you're bringing across, the information that you're bringing across is straight to the point, is clear, is succinct, okay, because when it comes to Mercury retrograde, you can tend to be, it can be a lot for you guys. So, in your head, you may have thought you said something, but you didn't really say something. You know what I'm saying? You didn't really say that, or in your head, you may have thought I did something, but you didn't actually do it on time. And now, suddenly you have like a late fee you have to pay or something like that. So, Make sure your communication is clear and succinct, straightforward when it comes to other people, you know, and vice versa. You know, if you have questions when it comes to other people communicating with you, ask questions so that things become clear to you. You don't want to do something wrong just because of a misunderstanding, of a miscommunication, especially when you could have just asked something. You could have just asked a question and, you know, gotten that fixed, nipped in the bud. So also you want to make sure that dang it, I had it on the tip of my tongue, on the tip of my head. Make sure that your communication is clear, but also prioritize, organize, okay? Write things down during Mercury retrograde because you may have a tendency to forget. All right, remember your mind, you yourself are probably going 100 miles an hour in different directions, okay? So writing things down, staying organized is really, really important for you when it comes to Mercury retrograde. Prioritizing, okay? Being very clear and succinct in your communication. Also, prioritizing your time. You know, a lot of times you may find yourself during Mercury retrograde wasting time. I don't want to say necessarily wasting time, but time slipping away from you because you're so in your mind, or you're so in a conversation with someone, or you're so focused on something, and then suddenly 8 hours have passed and you're like, oh my gosh, where's the time gone? So I'm telling you, prioritizing all those types of things, organizing, make sure you're being clear when you're communicating with other people is very, very important for you guys during Mercury retrograde, okay? Let's move on to Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus. My moon's in Libra, okay? So, Libra, you know, Venus rules romance, friendship, beauty, relationships, how we spend our money, you know, how we make our money. So when it comes to Mercury retrograde, one of the biggest things is to reflect on your money, Libra, where you're spending, okay? Because during Mercury retrograde, you know, it is a time for Libras to aimlessly spend, all right? You know, because your mind can be going 100 miles an hour, you know, and there can just be a lot of things going on. Sometimes when Libras get stressed, they like to spend money on things, so be careful with that. Another thing is overworking yourself. So be careful of overworking yourself during Mercury retrograde. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And also, Mercury retrograde is a really, really good time to reflect on the relationships in your life, Libra. You know, what certain relationships are a good influence on you, what certain relationships may not be the best influence on you at this time, and distancing yourself from certain people, okay? Now, once Mercury goes direct, you may find that, you know, distancing yourself from certain people was for the best. So you may not want to completely, you know, get back with certain people once Mercury goes direct. That's fine. But, you know, once Mercury goes retrograde, you really, really want to kind of pull back from certain people. You know, maybe, you know, pull certain people closer to you during Mercury retrograde. But you really want to pull back and focus on self, okay? Because, you know, you don't want to become imbalanced and then suddenly start making irrational decisions because you're imbalanced. And then once Mercury goes direct, you're like, oh my gosh, I made all these bad decisions during Mercury retrograde because I was imbalanced, when if I just had pulled back and went within myself, instead of seeking things outside of myself, you know, during this retrograde period, I could have saved more money. I could have gotten more sleep. I could have gotten more work done. You know what I'm saying? So you really have to focus on self, Libra, during Mercury retrograde. Now, Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which rules society at large. Okay, it rules how we approach our own personal goals and aspirations. It rules friends and acquaintances. It also rules technology. Okay, it rules change, unpredictability, things like that. Now Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn. So Saturn rules time, karma, debt, weight, illness, our career, profession, status in society, our sense of responsibility. So when it comes to Mercury retrograde, Aquarius may actually find themselves with more responsibility, because what other people, you know, don't have the ability to do, you know, during Mercury retrograde, don't have the ability to focus on, don't have the ability, the mental capacity to figure out, they will throw on you, Aquarius. All right, and now you guys are champs. You guys are going to take it, you know, for the team, because you guys are team players. You know, Uranus also rules how we work in groups and things like that. So you're a team player, but don't be afraid to tell people no. Don't be afraid to kind of course, be sympathetic. You are the water bearer, but, you know, don't be afraid to say no to taking on other people's workloads or other people's loads in general. If they're not giving you a workload, people want to talk your ear off during Mercury retrograde. You know, people want to spend a lot of your time or waste your time, like, you may be hanging out with someone and in the back of your mind you're like, okay, I want to go home, but this person just continues talking your ear off or wants to continue eating up all your food. You know what I'm saying? Like, people want a lot of your time during Mercury retrograde, which may be very frustrating for you. So like I was saying, for Libra, you might want to pull back a bit. Alright, because during Mercury retrograde, people kind of gravitate towards those who are the most giving, of their time, their money, their energy, what so have you. So be careful with that. Also, Mercury retrograde, of course, can bring up delays and unpredictability and confusion, which, you're kind of used to because that's Uranus, but it can also bring unpredictability and things like that when it comes to your technology. So you may find yourself like, if you're not careful with your technology, if you're not paying attention, you may find yourself having to buy a new iPod because it slipped in the tub, or because you left it on out in the sun too long, and like some things like that, where weird things can happen with technology. You left the light on in the car overnight and suddenly it blew out and you have to buy a new light bulb, something like that, where it's like, I'm not, these are all hypothetical situations, okay? I'm not, putting bad juju on you. God, forbid these things. But these are just some examples of things that can happen because, Uranus does rule technology. So we have to be realistic. And it can be something as, simple as, it's interesting because Mercury goes backwards. And, a lot of times when things go backwards, there are messages in that. So I have to be honest, sometimes Aquarius, you may be a little bit lucky during Mercury retrograde actually, and you may find yourself in situations where, like, you may be listening to the radio and there's a message for you on the radio about, like, a long-standing problem that you may have, and suddenly you have the solution. You may just, stumble upon lucky things like that as well. It doesn't all have to be bad, but you just really want to make sure you're on your P's and Q's with any technological, situations that are involved in your life, so for example, if your business relies on technology, you want to make sure that, your technology is in tip-top shape. All right. Good time to reflect over the technological systems in your business, actually overall, your home, things like that. Back up all your information, things like that. It's a good time to, reflect on your cybersecurity, stuff like that too. Really, really good for you guys for Mercury retrograde. And also, like I was saying, reflecting on your responsibilities, your responsibilities that you have to live up to, but also other people have to live up to, but they kind of put on you, but moving on. Let's move on to the fire sign. So Mercury retrograde for Leo. Leo's ruled by the sun. The sun rules creativity, romance. All right, it rules our connection to our life purpose and our higher self. So when it comes to Mercury retrograde, it's interesting because nothing really stops a Leo. But be cautious. You want to, reflect on your actions, Leo, during Mercury retrograde. Reflect on your actions, your past actions, but the actions that you will be taking during Mercury retrograde, because sometimes during Mercury retrograde, Leos have the tendency to act but not necessarily think until after the fact. And I do have to say that a lot of times during Mercury retrograde, people can be more sensitive than usual. So a Leo may say something, may do something, but where they weren't thinking before acting, and then suddenly there's a fight, or a fire that they have to put out or something like that. So be careful with that. But overall, it's mainly about thinking before acting, looking at past situations where you didn't think before acting. And it's also a good time to look at where there are points in your life where you can move forward, but maybe you didn't have the best plan of action to do so. So Mercury retrograde is a really, really good time for you guys to come up with plans of actions for getting what you want. All right. So this is really important if you have Mars and Leo, especially, because Mars is all about getting what we want. So, during Mercury retrograde, it's all about thinking before you act and coming up with plans of action once Mercury goes direct, to be honest with you. All right. So let's move on to Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter rules expansion of the mind. It rules higher education, our personal philosophies, and our belief systems. So like I was saying to Pisces, because Pisces is also ruled by ruled by Jupiter. Mercury retrograde for Sag is all about looking at where you may feel blocked in your life, and figuring out what you can do to unblock yourself. Not the best time to start new things, not the best time to, especially starting new things with other people, all right, which you may actually be tempted to do, and you may find yourself blocked in those situations, actually, which is going to be very frustrating for you. But in that same realm, it's a good time to look at what may be blocking you. So if you find yourself reaching brick walls during Mercury retrograde, instead of getting flustered or frustrated and trying to burn down the wall or bulldoze the wall over, figure out why the timing's not right. Why right now you can't get past that wall. What may be blocking you. You know what I'm saying? Good time to reflect over things that may be blocking you in your life, may be blocking you from getting you what you want. It's a good time to also reflect over not only what may be blocking you, but beliefs that may be blocking you, friendships that may be blocking you. It's a good time to really do some spring cleaning, I think, Mercury retrograde for you guys. Not only literally, but mentally, logically, emotionally. It's a really good kind of purging time for you guys. So let's move on to Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. So like I was telling Scorpio, it may be a little bit frustrating because, Mars wants what it wants when it wants it, but Mercury retrograde tends to be fraught with delays. So this can be very frustrating for an Aries, but a door closed is often a blessing in disguise. All right, so when it comes to Mercury retrograde, Aries, it's very, very important for you to reflect over your actions. Reflect over your past actions and future actions that you plan to take. All right. Not the best time, of course, to start anything new, as I've already explained in the beginning of the video. But it's a really, really good time to reflect over power dynamics in your life. Who you may be giving your power over to, what you may be giving over your power to, where you need to take your power back from, who you need to take your power back from. It's a really good time for that. All right, a really, really good time for rest and rejuvenation for Aries as well. And so once Mercury goes direct, you're 100% full force, ready to go. All right, so now let's move on to the Earth signs. Let's start with Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And Saturn rules career, profession, status, and society, our sense of responsibility, and those types of things. So when it comes to Capricorn, Capricorn, it's a really good time to reflect on the structures within your life. All right, whether it be the structure within your home, the structure within your work, which is a very, very typical thing for Capricorns to reflect on during this time. Their work, their business. And what may not be working within that structure. Maybe you need to move up in the structure. Maybe you need to rework the structure. Or maybe you just need to simply leave the structure altogether and build a new one. All right, this is a good time for Capricorns to really reflect on those types of things. Rules and regulations, what's not working with that as well. Rules that you've set for yourself, rules that other people have set for you. Very, very important for Capricorns to reflect on. And where you may be feeling blocked in your work, in your career, in your life. What you can do to make things better. All right, so it's actually a really, really good time for Capricorns to look back and expand on certain things and to, like I was saying, make things better. Restructuring, okay, is really, really good thing for Capricorn during this time. Anything review, restructure, all right, replan, replenish, whatever, that's a good thing to do during Mercury retrograde. Let's move on now to Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So, like I was saying with Libra, Venus rules friendship, beauty, harmony, romance, peace, how we make our money, what we like to spend our money on. So when it comes to Taurus, a big thing is about, focusing on where you spend your money, how you make your money, all right, and ways to invest your money, all right. So For Mercury retrograde, a big thing for Taurus is new ways to invest their money, new ways to make money. It's a really good time to look into those types of situations. It's a really good time to make new friends, or to start kind of, at the very least, ushering out old friends. And when I say new friends, I mean it's kind of a thing that happens kind of naturally. Like, suddenly a Taurus may be out and someone strikes up a conversation with them, or they strike up a conversation with them. For Taurus, Mercury retrograde, it's really, out with the old and with the new. Okay, so, this can be friendships, this can be with, the decoration in their home. It's a really good time to redecorate, to, replenish things that may be old, anything remember what I was saying, remember, redecoration, updating their wardrobes, a really, really good thing for Taurus to do during Mercury retrograde. Anything that makes them feel better and feel good, so that by the time Mercury goes direct, it's like you've been updated, you've been upgraded in some way. So now you're ready to take on this new energy, okay? Lastly, Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, okay? So here we go, Virgo. My rising sign is Virgo. My sun is Capricorn. So Virgo with Mercury retrograde. Like I was telling Gemini, it's a really, really good time to reflect and review. Make sure that your communication, that you're communicating with other people, is succinct, straightforward, straight to the point, is clear. All right. Organization and prioritizing is really, really important for you. Ironically, you tend to be people who are always organized and, always prioritizing things. But during Mercury retrograde, maybe not so much, okay? Because there can be so much going on. So like I was saying, prioritizing, organizing. If you have to write things down, write it down. You may have a tendency to forget, okay? So be careful. Have some type of plan, have some type of routine in place for certain things, especially if you see things start to get disorganized in some way, or you start to see mistakes. Remember, routine is your best friend during this time. All right, make sure you're getting your rest, your sleep, because you can have a tendency to overwork yourself, kind of like Libra, all right, during Mercury retrograde, because, it can feel like there's just never enough time in the day, whereas, ironically, Gemini is like, there's never enough time in the day, because they're having fun. It's like, for a Virgo with Mercury retrograde, it can be there's never enough time in the day, because every minute of the day is packed with doing something, all right? So, you have to make time for yourself, Virgo, and you have to, put yourself first during Mercury retrograde. The key is to put yourself first, all right? You can't be good for other people if you're no good for yourself. All right, and this is what the zodiac signs, in my opinion, should be doing during Mercury retrograde. If you would like to elaborate, please contact me on my website, LamarrTownsendTarot.com. I would love to read for you. I do birth chart readings, messages from your spirit guides, and psychic tarot readings, and so much more. I do individual birth chart readings, compatibility birth chart readings, where I look at the overall compatibility between you and another person. I also do love compatibility birth chart readings, where I focus on the love aspects between you and another person, okay, such as the seventh house, the fifth house, the Venus sign, the moon, the Mars, the Mercury, and so on and so forth. I also do business birth chart readings and birth chart readings for children. Also, I do I do psychic tarot readings. I do phone, Skype, psychic tarot readings, and which are more expensive. I do video readings where I record myself doing your reading, and then I email it back to you via Google Drive. I also do one-on-one text message and Facebook and Instagram psychic tarot readings, email readings, and so much more. So check all of those out on my website, LamarrTownsendTarot.com. I would love to read for you. Also, please check out my ebook, Zodiac Signs, Sex Language, available now on Amazon and on my website, designed, written solely by me. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. I can't wait to hear from you for your readings. Please like this video, share with your friends and family, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button so that you get a notification whenever I upload a new video. And also please follow me on my Instagram at Lamarr Townsend, and like me on my Facebook, facebook.com/Lamarr Townsend official, or just type in Lamarr Townsend Tarot in the search bar. Thank you for your support. Have a great day, month, year, Mercury retrograde, period. And when Mercury goes direct, have a great Mercury direct period, okay? Just have a great life, you guys, okay? Love and light. Catch you in the next video. Have you been wanting to get a reading from me? Well, it's easy. Let's go through it together. So all you do is you visit my website, lamarrtownsendtarot.com, and you can visit the site on your computer or on your phone, and you click the store button right here at the top of the page, and here are all my services that I offer. I do candle offerings and all different types of birth chart readings and psychic tarot readings, messages from your spirit guides, and so much more. So you click the one that you want, you click the pay with PayPal button, and it'll take you to the PayPal page where you can pay for your reading. Now, you'll hear from me within 24 hours, for your reading confirmation, and then I'll get your reading back to you within a 48-hour period. Usually, it's, a day or less, okay? So I look forward to reading for you. Thank you for your support.